Here's more wrestling news for September 23, 2021. And your headlines for this afternoon include former Impact Wrestling star's surprise appearance after AEW Rampage Grand Slam went off the air, Ric Flair replaced by Ultimate Warrior in WWE's opening video package, tell him to meet me outside, former WWE champion sends message to Ric Flair, CM Punk rips former multiple-time WWE champion, WWE wrestler fires back on report of his knee surgery, why WWE decided to use rejected storylines, WWE Nixed big female segment from NXT 2.0 this week, current WWE wrestler reportedly requested his release, Bryan Danielson opens up about WrestleMania 30, and more. We are starting off with AEW as the Grand Slam Dynamite was a huge night of TV, and the company also filmed content for this Friday's Rampage. These tapings saw one surprising name show up, so if you want to avoid spoilers, you should skip the 30 seconds of this video. During the end of the Lights Out match, which saw Suzuki-gun face Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, Moxley found himself handcuffed and in dire straits until Homicide showed up and helped him out. The former Impact star helped Moxley and Kingston turn the tables, and the match ended with Kingston placing a trash can over Lance Archer's head, beating him with a kendo stick to get the win. The crowd were ecstatic to see Moxley, Kingston, and Homicide celebrating in the ring together in what was an adrenaline-pumping surprise to cap off AEW Rampage's Grand Slam. For the past week, Ric Flair has been in serious hot water after Dark Side of the Ring documented his actions on the infamous plane ride from hell. Flair has since denied that he ever forced a flight attendant to touch his genitals, but WWE have distanced themselves from the former world champion, removing him from their opening video package. Now, not only has Flair been removed, but he's also been replaced, as eagle-eyed fans will spot that a clip of the Ultimate Warrior is now in the opening package where Flair once was. The Warrior is an interesting choice, as he was no stranger to controversy. From saying that Heath Ledger's death was good for his family after the actor played a gay cowboy in Brokeback Mountain, to wishing death on Bobby Heenan following the legendary manager's cancer diagnosis. As for Flair, his alleged actions are continuing to haunt the Nature Boy, as the company that celebrated him for years continue to distance themselves from the two-time Hall of Famer. Despite the claims against Flair, many fans are still loyal to the 16-time WWE World Champion, which has led to some tense standoffs with Rob Van Dam. It's no secret that Flair is unhappy with RVD for the latter's comments on Dark Side of the Ring, and many believe that a tweet from Flair, in which he says a man tried to destroy his reputation on an assumption, is aimed at the high-flying legend. Ever since then, RVD has been having heated Twitter exchanges, and when one fan said that Van Dam lacks the stones to stand up to Flair, he bit back, saying, "Tell him meet me outside, weird dude Wes. Join him." Flair's name continues to be a topic of debate with fans, as the two-time Hall of Famer has denied ever forcing a flight attendant to touch his genitals, and only time will tell if this latest controversy will ever blow over for the Nature Boy. CM Punk news next, as the Best in the World's return to wrestling this year has been a huge success so far, and Punk has had plenty to say since then. Speaking to Wrastlin' with Brandon Walker, Punk discussed the various levels in wrestling and said that some top names only want to look out for themselves and make sure nobody gets to their level. He said, "They don't want anybody to steal their spot. You throwing my name in the hat with somebody like Steve Austin, who's arguably the biggest star the business has ever seen. A lot of this is subjective though. You can make the argument, oh no, well, Hulk Hogan is a bigger star than Steve Austin. But then you look at business periods and eras and box office receipts and all that other stuff. I think Hogan's a piece of shit, so obviously I'm gonna be like, Steve Austin, yay! What it feels like? I don't have the words to describe what it feels like. What I know I feel like is I want to help everybody on the AEW roster get there. That's what I know." Fans certainly won't be seeing Hogan get to the top level in AEW, as the Hulkster has been banned for life by Tony Khan, who cited Hogan's racist comments as the reason why. The fact remains that Hogan is one of, if not the biggest star in wrestling, having headlined 8 of the first 9 WrestleManias. But how Hogan got to that top level and what he did to stay there for so long is something Punk and countless others are clearly against. Back to WWE, as after last week's Raw, it was reported that MVP suffered a broken rib thanks to Randy Orton's RKO, and the wrestler/manager said he may as well have a knee surgery that he'd been putting off. A report came out that he'd had a procedure, but it seems like that was a bit presumptuous on the part of Dave Meltzer. In his report, Meltzer said that MVP had his knee surgery this week and will be out of action for a while, but the former US champ fired back with a tweet saying he's not had the surgery yet, but will have it eventually. We're hoping that MVP doesn't need a ton of time away from the ring, as there was a tease of a Hurt Business reunion prior to his recent departure, and although his focus is on healing his knee, that doesn't mean he's had the surgery yet. NXT 2.0 now, as this week saw the second episode of the rebranded show, and the show certainly felt different to the main roster. It had been previously reported that Vince McMahon had given new ideas to cater to the 18 to 49 demographic, and fans can expect more foul language as part of this plan. Fightful Select notes that an overhaul of NXT 2.0 is ongoing, one which will extend beyond the visual aspect of the show, and will feature looser restrictions on language. This explained why Bron Breakker called his opponents bitches during the opening segment, and it's also said that WWE are more open to the use of alcohol, as we saw in the Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen bar fight. NXT 2.0 is a brand new product, and fans are slowly coming to accept it, as many people will appreciate WWE programming that is a little less family-friendly. This week's show saw plenty of action, including a huge title change between Kushida and Roderick Strong, but not everyone made it to TV. Fightful also reports that a backstage segment for the show was scrapped, which would have featured several newer female superstars. NXT 2.0 did have a similar segment this week for the male superstars which happened in the ring, but there's no word on why the women didn't get the spotlight. Perhaps this segment could be used next week, as with an overhauled show and a brand new roster, WWE could do with introducing the latest female superstars of NXT 2.0. As the reigning AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega certainly knows how it feels to be a top star in the company, which sells itself as an alternative to WWE's version of pro wrestling. Omega has even said that AEW is how wrestling should be, and it's no secret that plenty of ex-WWE talent have gone on to big things as part of the All Elite promotion. Speaking to Tokyo Sports, Omega spoke about AEW's roster and claimed that he reckons that 90% of WWE's current roster would rather be in AEW. That's a huge claim from Omega, who went on to say that if he could sign any wrestler in the world, it'd be current Universal Champion Roman Reigns. As WWE's unquestionable top star, fans shouldn't expect to see Reigns vs. Omega on Dynamite, Rampage, or on pay-per-view, but that match would go a long way to prove who the real top champion of wrestling is. Back to WWE, and over the past year, a ton of names have been let go as part of budget cuts. But not everyone is waiting to be handed a pink slip. According to Lucha Libre program Mas Lucha, Gran Metalik has requested his release from WWE, which he explained was due to frustration with his booking in the company. As for his contract, Metalik's deal expires in 2023, but he wants out far earlier than planned, but there's no word on if his request has been granted. A former 24/7 champion, Metalik is rarely used on WWE TV, scoring just one victory in the past 4 months of programming. In his most recent match, Metalik and Lince Dorado lost to Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo during the September 13th edition of WWE Main Event, and now the High Flyer wants out of the company. At last night's AEW Grand Slam Dynamite, Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega had an instant classic, which ended with a time-limit draw, but Bryan's entrance left some fans wanting more. After leaving WWE, fans had been hopeful that Danielson would use Europe's The Final Countdown, the song he used for years on the independent scene and in Ring of Honor. Speaking to Chris Mueller of Bleacher Report, the ex-WWE superstar discussed the song that hasn't followed him to AEW, saying, "They would only let AEW play it like 20 times a year or something like that. For several hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can play The Final Countdown 20 times a year. That doesn't work for us." Between Dynamite, Rampage, and pay-per-views, 20 times a year wouldn't go far for AEW, and Bryan would either have to go without a theme or not appear for months in a row. Instead, Danielson debuted with a theme composed by his friend Elliot Taylor, as the high price Europe were charging proved to be too much, even for Tony Khan. And we're ending with more from that match, as Danielson's bout with Kenny Omega was epic to say the least, with many calling it the biggest match in Danielson's career. Even before the match, expectations were high for this first ever encounter, and sitting down with Brandon Walker of Wrestling, the former WWE superstar said how his AEW career has already eclipsed his peak in WWE. He said, "To me, this is the biggest match in my career. A lot of people would consider WrestleMania 30 my biggest moment, where I main evented WrestleMania, but the reality is, if I went out there and I did not perform very well in that day, maybe the moment wouldn't be remembered, but the ratings weren't going to change the next day. I wasn't going to change WWE's business." Danielson added that he sees the Omega match as even bigger because many people will have tuned into AEW for the first time last night, and he feels responsible for getting fans to stick with the product. WrestleMania 30 was the culmination of a near-year-long program for Bryan, as he beat Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista on the same night to become WWE World Heavyweight Champion. But this monumental win can't compare to what Bryan has done in AEW, according to the man himself. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.